February 25th, 1836. Samuel Colt gets the patent for the Colt revolver. Upon hearing the news, his reaction is, "It makes me feel big." Welcome to The Revisionists. I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
And we have a very special treat for you on this episode. Everyone, sorry, I am half a beer in and I had blood drawn this morning, so maybe I shouldn't be talking. But we have a quintuple threat on the show for you tonight. He's
like that show Quince.
What? Sure.
I think it starred Andy Richter as five
that's
siblings.
Right. I thought you said quince, like the fruit.
Yeah, or like the character from Midsummer Night's Dream. A shirt I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a play. It's not just a shirt you're wearing.
I think it's mostly known for being that shirt.
Of course. God damn it. Quintuple threat. He's a comedian. He is a dancer. He is a trivia master. He is a rapper, and he is a teacher. Adam Fedesky, everyone.
Yeah, I do so many things.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
So if you guys are new to The Revisionists, this is a podcast where three folks, just average, ordinary people like you, get together and we rap about history. Yeah. And one person gives the true verse of history, and the other person freestyles an alternate story.
I like the theme of this already.
I have handed over the reins so quickly and so lightly.
And the freestyle alternate can be crazy wackadoo and untrue. And then at the end, the third person votes on which one becomes the actual history going forward. Last time we talked about Catherine the Great of Russia, and the alternate history one in which Catherine the Great had magical powers and established both a Hogwarts and Professor X-like school.
It's your history, don't look at me.
And she was fighting a horrible demon that was one of the Ivans that she succeeded, but was also a demon. And that's how it happened.
Listeners, this episode we are talking about Tsar Nicholas II, also of Russia. I'll be doing the true history. Adam, you'll be doing the alternate.
Yeah.
All right.
I wrote a full rap for it. So.
It's 15 minutes.
We have been lightly implying guests should deliver their histories, real or alternate, in the form of a rap since the first episode, and no one has caught on yet.
Not at all.
We're waiting for Lin-Manuel Miranda's appearance.
This is going to be like the Hamilton for Tsar Nicholas II. Tsar Nicholas II was born in 1868, son of Alexander III, maternal grandson of the King and Queen of Denmark, nephew to the King of Greece and Queen Alexandria of England, cousin to King George V of England, the King and Queen of Norway, another King of Greece, and Kaiser Wilhelm II.
That's pretty well connected.
only two people were ever fucking during these days, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they were all family.
Yeah. His family called him Nicholas the Short, or Short Nick, probably, colloquially.
Little Nicky.
Short Nick, that topical, that blockbuster.
I feel like Short Nick is like what they call Santa in England.
Oh, Short Nick, governor. Hopping down your chimbley.
Best go to sleep early, kids. Short Nick's coming by tonight. Bring you some treacle.
Suppose he brings treacle. That's the only thing. Short Nick, when he was a child, witnessed the assassination of his grandpa, who among us can say that? And he was the target of an assassination attempt while visiting Japan, which we will see becomes part of a trend with him. His father failed to prepare him to take the throne, or teach him important state functions, because his father was only in his 40s and was like, I have plenty of time.
Yeah.
and then in grand Russian tradition, he died. And Nicholas became Tsar in 1894.
I feel like they say that, like, in America, occasionally they're like, oh, 40 is the new 20. But I feel like eternally in Russia, 40 is the new 90.
Yeah, 40 is the new dead. Yeah. He becomes Tsar at age 26. and he holds his coronation event at a place called Kadinka Field. And several 100,000 people gather there, and they were each to be given a gift of a roll, a sausage, a pretzel, and a commemorative cup.
Nice.
Yeah.
Little party bag.
It's a Russian party. It's a Russian fruit basket.
Yeah.
Is what it is. But over the course of the morning, a rumor spread through the crowd that there wasn't enough pretzels and
And that
beer to
you-
go around.
And that you shouldn't take the brown acid.
Yeah, but mainly about the pretzels and beer, and that also that each commemorative cup had a gold coin inside of it, and this caused a stampede which killed about 1,400 people.
Oh.
Yeah, naturally.
Well,
when people aren't going to get their pretzels, they get angry.
It makes the cover of like Russian Ways to Die magazine.
I hope that the story's all focused on the pretzel aspect. Pretzel fever kills 1,400.
Soft or hard? Which one would you rather die for?
The pretzels were soft, but their boots were hard.
I'm Walter Cronkite. The night after the stampede, Nicholas II goes to a party in his honor, hosted by the ambassador of France. He didn't want to go, but a lot of his advisors were like, it'll probably look worse if you don't. So he goes to the party.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Like after the Stampede Massacre?
Yeah.
Like, you really want to show people that you're chill and fun to hang with.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wanted to be an approachable guy. He's like, 1,400 people, but I got a party.
I don't want people to think I'm uptight.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. Wear one of those black armbands and then some Kanye West glasses.
Yeah, he changed his picture to a filter with just a picture of a pretzel over it.
Yeah.
Basically, things start going downhill from there. And a lot of
Oh, so that's with the good part.
yeah, that was the
That's when he
that's
was
the
doing
highlight reel. And the way I think about like Nicholas is there's a lot that happens that is out of his control, but he does not help things. For centuries, Russia has been expanding into the Far East, and this basically sets up a conflict with Japan, which Japan launches a sneak attack on a Russian port. The Russians have to move like all of their troops and their other navy and their supplies from St. Petersburg all the way to the front with Japan, which is almost the same distance as St. Petersburg to St. Petersburg, Florida. Just to conceptualize that a little bit.
So he's not like good at geography.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a long fucking day. Nicholas, in the grand tradition of wars of the late 19th, early 20th century, believed it would be pretty easy. Partially because he believed the Japanese were racially inferior, but also because Russia had a very, very large army. But they get their ass kicked, mainly because they are very, very poorly supplied. Meanwhile, while this is happening, pogroms against the Jewish population in Russia have been happening for years. And Nicholas publicly condemns anti-Semitism.
And I mean, based on the face you're making when you say he publicly condemns it, it looks like you're about to wink.
Yeah, no. Was I not winking? I was trying to. Sometimes it's hard. He publicly condemns anti-Semitism, but privately he views it as a way to get people on his side about something.
Yeah.
Which, of course, not analogous to anything.
He's against anti-Semitism the same way like Donald Trump denounces anti-Semitism.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to start laughing, but then I remembered that that's true.
Yeah,
And
right.
just
It's less
Not so
funny.
much a joke as...
As it is a very close parallel.
Yeah.
as the story we tell ourselves around the fire in the wastelands.
But again, at the very least, very slimmest silver lining provides the setting for classic film Fiddler on the Roof and play.
Yes, of course. The thinnest of silver linings, which that play is also very depressing.
Yeah, but it's good.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like, it's a classic, but still. It's like saying the silver lining is we got the movie Dear Zachary out of all this, you know? So, 1905, generations of workers were discontent with horrific conditions, and royal war and royal waste. So they lead a massive demonstration in St. Petersburg. Workers and peasants gather to deliver a petition to Nicholas, who has left the city the night before. Some of his family was like, no, you should stay. It'll look better. But other people were like, no, you need to leave town.
Well, the advice he got about the party, I'm going to say, these advisors are not at the top of their game.
Yeah. It's like, we learned from our past mistakes. Maybe deal with the peasants like they're people. Or maybe not like they're continuously farting dogs or something like that. So the crowds gather, and at different points around the city, troops open fire on the crowd. Estimates of the dead range from 92 to 4,000 in grand Russian tradition. And actually, in his journal entry for that day, the first words Nicholas uses to describe it are difficult day. So, which I'm just like, God damn it. You're not making it easier to find it in with you, Nicholas. But this is what's known as the Bloody Sunday massacre in Russia. There's many other Bloody Sundays.
Different ones. It's not the U2 one.
No. No. Or the, civil rights one.
No, not that one either.
Or the Irish one.
Yeah, that's the U2 one, though.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. But like the actual one that happened.
Yeah.
Oh. So Bloody Sunday is one of the causes of the revolution of 1905. Includes a lot of guerrilla tactics, bombings, assassinations. One of his advisors, Witte, presses Nicholas to sign the October Manifesto, pushing for reforms and a parliament and all that. Nicholas refuses and then tries to get his uncle Nicholas, also presumably Tall Nicholas, tries to get Tall Nicholas.
That's what they call Santa in German.
Yeah, yeah, Uber Nicholas.
Yeah, Uber Nikolaus.
He tries to get his uncle to take over as military dictator. And Uncle Nick put a gun to his head and threatened to kill himself if the Tsar did not sign the manifesto.
Strong bargaining tactic.
Just like, I don't want this job. Like, don't do this to me. So, at the end of the 1905 revolution, friend of the show, carnival barker, weight guesser, and all-around off-putting guy Rasputin is introduced to the royal family. Mm-hmm. A person I completely forgot was involved in this story until very earlier this morning. And Rasputin gained influence over Alexandria, as we have discussed, and mainly because he kept the children from dying. And Nicholas is trying to deal with the new parliament, or the Duma.
Although, if I remember correctly, Anastasia bullied him relentlessly.
Yeah, probably. I think so.
That episode was a long time ago.
Yeah, so fuck it. Look. Nicholas kept dismissing the different Duma until he got a more conservative one that he felt like he could work with. But other people had a really hard time working with him because he was very fatalist. He refused to even sign certain laws, saying I'll just leave it in God's hands. And that's not how the law works. And speaking of just leaving things to fate, Britain and Russia had a pre-existing alliance with France. And then around this time, Russia and England signed the Anglo-Russian Convention, which this basically tied Britain, France, and Russia together in what was called the Triple Entente. Nicholas also saw himself as the protector of Serbia because they were also Slavic people. This would have all worked out great.
Right. What could possibly happen around the 1910s?
Yeah. Of course, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria is assassinated. Austria declares war on Serbia. Nicholas, his advisors are like, you don't have to defend Serbia just because they're the same ethnicity as you. Because if you do, this will cause a war with Germany. And Nicholas is like, I'll protect Serbia. So,
of course, finally makes a decision.
Yeah, basically.
Real growth in the useful's of the advisors of
Yeah,
this story.
yeah.
Really, this is their story.
Right. Story of the advisors.
Where's their movie?
Of course, the the 2 times he doesn't listen to them are the times when it probably would have helped the most. So basically, World War I happens. And And World War One is something we will get into on its own, so I don't want to dig into it too much.
Plenty to talk about.
Yes. But suffice it to say, Russia is hit very, very hard by World War One. They lose 1 million people in the first year, in a battle in the first year, I believe, actually. And
Rough start.
yeah, basically.
Bad day.
Yeah.
Difficult day.
Difficult day. He also leaves a note to himself in his diary that's like, check on mulligans?
I sincerely hope that this ends with his last words being, difficult day.
I will get to his last words. So this pushes the discontent in Russia past the breaking point. They're spending so much on the war, people are dying, and so many people, not just in Russia, but around Europe, viewed it as a rich man's war. So the revolution of 1917 happens, which is the subject of a future episode.
And I figure, I mean, I don't know if you've ever read anything by Tolstoy or Dostoevsky, but those were written about 50 years before this.
Mm-hmm.
And if that was an acceptable level of depressing, this must have been pretty fucking bad.
Yeah. This is too much. So Nicholas is at the front. He's basically he's serving as commander-in-chief. But he's basically just there to like review troops and like boost morale, which does not work. So many of his battalions mutiny. But he doesn't realize the extent of what's happening in Moscow and St. Petersburg until it's too late. And he also didn't necessarily realize how much the Russian people, when they are inflamed to enter into a war against Germany, hate the fact that Nicholas has a German wife. So
And is, again, cousins to Kaiser Wilhelm.
yeah, exactly.
He was also pretty much German.
Yeah, he was more German than he was Russian. His last Russian
Almost entirely.
Yeah, his last Russian relative was a like a child of Catherine the Great in the 1700s. So that's just showing you the separation. He abdicates for himself and for his son. And he wanted to go into exile in Britain or France, but no European country would take him because they felt like taking him would inflame the socialists in their country and lead to their own revolutions. So he and his family are imprisoned in a house in the Urals. And around midnight on July 17th, 1918, Nicholas, his wife, and their 5 kids are taken to the basement. They are presented with a firing squad. Presented with, it sounds like
Guess what we got you?
Surprise!
Looks like Short Nick came.
the leader of the squad reads out the execution order for the family, and Nicholas turns to the executioners and says, "What?" and is shot. Basically, those are his last words. I got it right. His last words are, "What? What?" So twice. The anecdote that is given is that 3 of his daughters, Anastasia being the most famous, but I believe Olga and Maria also, survived the initial round of gunfire because they had so many diamonds and jewels sewn into their clothes.
That's gangsters. Fuck.
Yeah,
That is pretty gangster.
of course they were then bayoneted to death, but that also has a tinge of Soviet propaganda to it.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Grain of salt with that. But that's the story of Tsar Nicholas II, or a very short summation of a lot of the things that he failed to handle.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of also rumors that Anastasia went on and lived for a long time, but I think not that long ago, they proved emphatically that the corpse, that her body was in fact with her family's.
I believe so, yeah. I didn't look that up.
I think a couple years ago, they used modern science to determine that,
yeah, instead of just like casting chicken bones. Right. Adam, if you're ready with the alternate.
Yeah. All right. So, pretty interesting life that Tsar Nicholas had in reality, but I read things a little bit differently. And the question is, can I do a 10-minute rap about Tsar Nicholas? Let's see.
Do you need a beat?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Okay. I didn't plan for that.
Come on, white guys, give me a beat. Yeah, just keep doing that'll work. All right.
Well, I'll loop it.
Brian already jumped on this grenade, so I'm just going to let him roll with it.
All right, I'll freestyle talk, I guess. So yeah, he, as you said, last emperor of Russia is kind of his claim to fame. And from the get-go, Tsar Nicholas is
that, and he could swallow 8 pool balls at once.
Yes. Well, it's one of his little-known facts. He got into a lot of party tricks, which I will get to in just a little bit, in his early 20s. So, yeah, he was the oldest of Alexander III's children, and he was, viewed as completely incapable of doing anything. His first words when his brother Alexander IV was born the next year was like, "Hell yeah, I don't have to be Tsar." And then classic Russian baby move, Alex dies the next year before he even turns 1.
Russian babies.
That is a Russian baby prank.
Yeah.
101.
Yeah. And so he went back to being like, "Oh, I might have to be Tsar." And he was a classic.
Sorry, I just pictured Ashton Kutcher killing Russian babies. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was a predecessor to Punk'd that was occurring. But it was a little more diabolical at that time.
He'd be like, come up to families and be like, "Your baby's dead." And then they'd be like all upset and he'd be like, "You've been punked, but really."
But actually your baby is dead. We didn't kill him. He just died of natural causes at age 10 months.
The trick was investing in it.
Yeah. But yeah, so he was a classic born loser. He had no friends. He just, he's the kind of kid who picked his nose in class, licked the walls. His best friend was an imaginary kid named Vladimir. And around when his grandpa, Alexander II,
Sorry, did you say licked the walls?
Yeah, he was a total wall licker.
Is that...
Oh, that sounds...
Is that not a thing everyone knows? I totally didn't
vaguely like an offensive slave term for some kind of sexual preference, but I'm not sure which one.
It's just literally
it's a sexual preference for walls. For drywall.
Yes, exactly. You guys didn't have the kid who licked walls in your school?
If you didn't have that kid, you were that kid.
It's just, a kid who felt more comfortable being near a wall and licking it than interacting with the other kids. He was socially inept.
Okay.
What I'm getting at. So, and around when his grandpa, Alex II, got assassinated, he was 13 years old, and that's when he got into vodka. Started really getting into drinking a lot.
As Russians would call it, a late bloomer.
Yeah. So he was a late bloomer, but, kind of a sheltered childhood between licking the walls and not having friends. So he discovered vodka and was basically just like, I am just going to keep drinking. Because he realized that he was most likely one generation away from being Tsar. And he's like, hell no, I do not qualify for this. I don't want to be this. So he's just perpetually getting drunk, hitting up the parties and doing tricks such as swallowing pool balls, as was aforementioned. He was definitely a bit of a party animal, kind of liked to cut loose and drink mostly by himself because, again, didn't really have friends, but would occasionally go to parties and perform tricks.
You just pour it on a wall and try to lick it off.
He never really outgrew the wall licking. That was the thing that followed him
That's
and
why
plagued
there's that portrait of him pressed up against a wall in the Kremlin.
When I turned my head back just now to Brian, I noticed him kind of looking contemplatively at the wall.
What am I missing?
There is way too much lead paint in this apartment for me to consider that. That's a possibility.
Yes. So he's just getting drunk a lot, and the 1890s roll around, and lo and behold, his dad starts dying in his 40s. He's like, shit. He's 26, perpetual drunk. He did his best to try and not be considered to be Tsar, but lo and behold, he was the only one who was of adult age at that time. So
he tried to weekend at Bernie's his dad.
He's like, maybe we can just pretend. And Alexander III, he did his best. He tried to pump out a bunch of kids, trying to find anyone who would be better than Nicky II. But
Nicky 2?
Nicky 2, Nick Jr., as he's also referred to. He had lots of nicknames.
Of course.
He began rapping during his come-ups in his vodka blackout stages at the parties. So anyway, he's super pissed that his dad's dying and he's making him ascend to the throne. He's like, damn it, this is some bullshit. So he decides, he's like, you know what? I'm going to be the best emperor by being the last. And so he decides...
A little problem with the logic there.
Well, you know.
Not sure I agree with your police work, Lou.
Well, he was drunk a lot.
I mean, this logic doesn't have to be unassailable. The character.
But anyway, he's unprepared, and he just decides, like, I'm going to wing it. That's his whole approach to all of being a czar and emperor. So he's like, vodka's just going to make decisions for me. And so... Yeah, you mentioned the whole coronation. What really happened there was these people. Yeah, people did die. It was like not great, but he's
Not
like
our first choice.
Well, to be fair, it's not really a Russian event unless 100 or so people die at least.
exactly. And so he tried to play off of that, like, what's more Russian than people dying? And so he tried to distract everyone by, in addition to the party favors, he handed out shooters of vodka to all of the attendees, trying to, help them remember the good times that were happening. And shortly after this coronation, he released his first hit single, which was called Ain't No Party Like a Kadinka Party. It really took off, and the people were like, you know what? This guy's a pretty solid czar overall. And he just kind of coasted on the success of that single. And he started going what you might call straight Kanye. He just kind of got wrapped up in his own success from that rap single.
To be fair, he is the Russian emperor.
Right, exactly. He was the voice of a generation.
Started calling himself Zarzis. Does that work? No?
Yeah. I like Zarzis.
Yeah, Zarzis.
I didn't come up with
Jesus.
enough nicknames. Yeah.
Nicholas. No, that doesn't work.
Yeah, so he coasted on this delusion, and then eventually he's like, you know what? We're going to take on Japan. Everybody beats Japan. I got this. What's the worst that could happen? And
common 1800s saying everybody beats Japan.
Yeah.
Especially in Japan.
Yeah.
Right?
They were the Charlie Brown of countries.
They really were. And so, he figures what's the worst that could happen. Starts talking shit on Japan, and he drops a diss track called Japan Ain't a Thing. And lo and behold, he drops that, goes on tour again, and whoopsie-daisy, Japan attacks Russia and beats them.
Oh, I thought he was going to go on tour in Japan.
Yeah. Well, he was planning, some dates out there, but lo and behold, they beat him, and that led to his new catchphrase, which was "My bad."
It took off everywhere.
People really attached onto that. That was one of the most
coins.
But life as a czar definitely hardened him, and so he's like, you know what? You guys can't handle this. I'm gonna start killing Russians who are tripping. So as you mentioned, Bloody Sunday, people were trying to step to him, and he wasn't having it. So he wanted to establish his rapport, and when he started killing their own Russians, they started calling him Nicholas the Bloody, and it really went to his head. It got a little weird. He started smearing blood all over his face during public appearances.
Oh, a little weird. Okay,
sure. Really was trying to get into the zone. Again, this is before rap really took off, so he was just trying to make
pioneer.
Yeah, of course.
He was a pioneer, absolutely, of the game.
And of course, really, it was co-opted from him.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, this is like that part in Back to the Future where Marty McFly kind of creates rock and roll and just steals it.
Exactly. So very, very similar. He went so hard between like smearing the blood on his face that everyone was like, whoa, rap music's too much, and they outlawed it until the 1980s. But not until his reign was over. So after this, Nick meets up with this guy Rasputin, who moved to St. Petersburg with the intentions of becoming his hype man. And so Rasputin was kind of to Nick's second what like Puff Daddy was to Biggie, And for those familiar, like he was definitely Rasputin, super into the Russian queen, was kind of a conflict of interest, much in the same way P. Diddy was way into Faith Evans. And for those of you not familiar with the Notorious B.I.G., that was his lover before the death. Okay. Side note into rap history. The song I'll Be Missing You. Anyway. So yeah. So Nick keeps going on this tear. He's killing peeps. He's got Rasputin as his hype man. And the First World War comes around, and Nick's still on his reign of delusion. He's like, y'all want to step to this? We got millions of people ready to mess you up. And the Russians are like, no, stop.
we want food.
Yeah, like they wanted to eat, and he wanted to prove that he was, again, the voice of a generation, not just to the Russians, but to the entire world.
No, we're more into Kendrick now.
Yeah. Right. And like people were like not super into what he was doing. And they, started doing chants like down with the war, down with the Tsar, which, was kind of like a contradiction. Like he just wanted to become, the cool guy who everyone respected. And the opposite happened entirely. But
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So he kind of goes through, realizes he's like, you know what? These Russians ain't shit. And decides he's like, you know what? It's up to me. I'm leaving this. He tries to walk away from the whole thing, like this abdication. Like, no, he left on his own terms.
Okay, it was a retirement. It was like it was Dre, basically.
Exactly. He's like, I don't need to make any more singles. And so the Russian people, obviously not super into that move, but then he was like, I'm just gonna Tupac this, and decided he was
get shot.
and people like went after him, but then like he kept releasing singles into the 1940s, which was pretty legit. He actually is responsible for the Second World War.
This is a grave reinterpretation of the causes of the Second World War.
Yes, this could become a problem for our show later.
You might say there's some discontinuity with the story. And I might say that this is the alternate history, so it doesn't have to all be scientifically, historically accurate. I did partially choose the alternate history because it's easier to make up facts than it is to recite them. I didn't exactly.
Ain't it
ever? So anyway, yeah, he goes into hiding for a little while and continues releasing albums. People are like, is he dead? Is he not dead? And then turns out that his whole family definitely got executed.
I was going to say, this story does lend some hope for like the Anastasia affair. No.
Yeah. It was, they tried to cover that up for a while, but especially because Rasputin also killed, he didn't really have a lot of people helping to propagate his legacy, but he did continue releasing albums and overall was, he was canonized as a saint because of all of his dope rap music.
Wow.
Like St. Pablo, almost.
Yeah. One of the most revered leaders. Indeed, the last emperor because you couldn't top him.
Of course. Well, we have to invent communism. Or not invent communism, but whatever. Zach, you're judging for this episode.
Sure. So I guess in this case, it's sort of my bad versus difficult day. Difficult day is something I do very much enjoy. The alternate, I feel like, for the most part, is flexible with the real because it's basically the same story, but he's also a rapper, and he licks walls and shit. So it's just the same. But I was a little worried about the cultural appropriation of Tsar Nicholas II creating rap, but then I remembered. I think we kind of already established that Cleopatra created hip-hop music.
Oh, maybe we did. Okay.
So
that's episode 3. I don't know.
So maybe that's not a problem. Maybe he's just, stealing his influences like, Eminem. He's the Eminem of this world.
This world. So wait, does this alternate history establish there was no Marshall Mathers?
I didn't say that. So... You know what? Yeah, I'll just go with the alternate because I feel like we get the basic bones of the story of Tsar Nicholas II, but with just a little extra juice.
A little more fun delusion.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, thank you. Listeners, as always, we ask if you have time and the inclination, please review and rate the podcast on iTunes. That's
Yes.
super helpful to us.
Particularly review. That is the most helpful thing.
Yes, indeedy. Find us on the social meds, Facebook. I thought I would try it.
Tsar Nicholas II would have approved.
well, that's not like an endorsement. The social media institutions, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can support the show over on Patreon. Check out our different reward options. We still have the t-shirts that Jeff Tice designed that are awesome. And you can hop on over to the website, revisionistpodcast.com, for news and leave us a comment, ask us a question, and all that. Before we leave, Adam, you host trivia Mondays and Wednesdays at different places, right? Mondays is Prohibition.
Indeed. Yeah, so I host for Geeks Who Drink, who will not allow me to call it trivia. It's a pub quiz. That is, I'm a quiz master. That's a real job title I have. So yeah, I do that on Mondays at Prohibition and Wednesdays at Comrade Brewing Company in Southeast Denver. Both of them start at 7 o'clock each.
And then you are part of an improv rap group.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, naturally, as you can tell with how well I improv rapped at the start of my alternate history.
I mean, I think you just said, yeah. I mean, I think that was it. I think that was the
it's when the beat starts, it just all comes out. But yeah, so I'm a part of this group called the Rap Scallions, who perform on
the most improv thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an improv hip hop musical every Friday night at the Voodoo Comedy Playhouse, and yeah, it's the last people you would ever expect to see rapping, all on stage, freestyle rap battling about anything from elephants to ice cream sandwiches. We'll rap about literally anything, so it's a fun show.
All right. Zach, you co-host Stage of Fools, which, congratulations, just saw the Royals was renewed for a 4th season.
I mean, congratulations is a strong word.
Mazel tov. Then.
We're wrapping up the 3rd season. We have, at the time this comes out, probably 2 more episodes that'll come out. The coverage of the finale, and then our season wrap-up, and then we'll be on hiatus again until season 4. So get it while it's hot, I guess.
All right. As for me, the next episode of Nighttime Tonight is March 16th over at the Deer Pile at 9 p.m. Adam, thank you for helping out with that. And Zach, thank you for all of your help with that. Yep. And by the way, listeners, if you are listening right now, that means you stuck with us through the schedule shift because of Nighttime Tonight, and I thank you for that. And after that, I will be on the funny Final Four at Comedy Works April 7th. So come check that out.
Yeah.
But I think that'll do it for this episode. Adam, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Zach, thank you as always. Mm-hmm. And for everyone here at The Revisionist, I'm Brian Flynn.
I'm Zach Powers.
Have a good time.
Yeah.